Hey, how's it going everyone? Teysind here, and today I wanted to talk about do you or have you ever imported video games? This is something I think is really cool to talk about because as we've seen changes with consoles being, region free and stuff like that now, gives us a wider access to games that we possibly couldn't play otherwise without modding our console. And this is in terms of games that, may never get released in your region. But it could also be, importing games for the reason of games being cheaper, getting them from other regions or stuff like that. I know, especially here in Australia, getting UK copies of the games, which our Australian copies are actually the UK copies. They've just had sort of the discs reprinted to have the Australian classification on them. Same it goes with the actual the cases and manuals and stuff. But the actual game disc itself, the coding and the region coding of the disc, it's exactly the same. So I wanted to talk about do I or have I ever. So in terms of do I, not necessarily, but there are some games I've gotten for reasons being that I haven't been able to get, or the games that never got released in my region, especially physically. But going back into the past, this is actually something I have done quite a bit, and that is because going back to like the PS2 era, there were a lot of, and even PS1, there were a lot of games that I wanted to play and get that were just never released in Australia, unfortunately. And I was really fortunate to have my PlayStation 2 get chipped or modded so it could play games from any region and stuff like that. And that actually allowed me to then be able to play these games. At the time, it wasn't such an easy thing for me to be able to get these games from overseas. I wasn't enough to go on eBay and stuff like that. But as I've gotten older, now I can actually source these games and play them. So I thought I'll, get a list of all the games I've gotten and take you through them. So starting off with the first games that I ever imported that unfortunately is never released here is Chrono Cross on the PS1. This is a game I really love to play. I haven't played through it yet because I really want to beat Chrono Trigger, the original, first. But I was so glad to get this, and I actually got it really cheap at the time. I think US $20 or so. So definitely great to have that in my collection. Moving on, another game that never got released in Australia, at least at the time and on the original platform of the PS2, and that was Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. So this is the remake of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories from the Game Boy Advance, and it got released with Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix in Japan, as well as a standalone release in North America. We never got this game released on the PS2, so I had to get it and play through it, so I got it. But fortunately, since the remasters came out on the PS3, this game is in the compilation, so it's now widely available all over the place. And also, continuing on with Kingdom Hearts, this is a game I didn't necessarily get import or sent to me. I actually got it in the country it came out, and that is the Ultimate Hits version of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. I got this actually when I was in Japan, and I really just wanted to get it. I wanted to get it and play it because there was cutscenes and stuff in this game that were never on the original Kingdom Hearts, and unfortunately they were voiced in English. I was quite optimistic at the time, thinking, I could pick up what I could of the Japanese hiragana, katakana, kanji, and play through it. I never ended up playing through it on the PS2. I ended up, when it came remastered on the PS3 in English, that was when I finally played it. But I still haven't gotten rid of this. I think there's a lot of memories for me getting this in Japan. I think it is the only game that was never released in Australia at the time that I actually got overseas, as opposed to having it posted to me or something. So I might hang on to this. But yeah, going on to sort of the main series of games that I was really happy to have my PlayStation 2 be region free for, and that is the Dot Hack series. So the original Dot Hack games, Dot Hack Part 1 to Part 4, that were released here in Australia, but then the sequel series, Dot Hack GU, never actually got released outside, I believe it was Japan and North America, so NTSC regions. And I really want to get these. And fortunately, I do have them. So here we have Dot Hack Part 1, Dot Hack Part 2, I say the GU series, and Dot Hack GU Part 3. And it's actually taken me many years to get these games. Obviously, they're not easy to get from overseas, especially now with the costs of them, not just the actual cost of the games because they're rising in value, but also the postage costs of Australia, because a lot of people don't post it at the cheapest international postage cost available. They always post it at much higher costs. They include certain sort of insurance and stuff with overseas, because if it gets lost, sometimes they can be reliable, at least when it comes to PayPal bias protection and stuff. But yeah, I remember getting this back when it was quite well priced. Got it brand new and sealed. This one I actually found someone in Australia that was selling it, so I got it really cheap for that. To them it was, they couldn't play it. You know, no one was buying it because no one really could play it, so I was able to make the most of that opportunity and get cheap. And then here, .hack GE Part 3, I got this recently, last year or the year before. I got it imported for quite a good price for what they were. So this is probably the best reason, you know, I can play region-free games on my PS2, and that is this series here. But there are other games that I actually own that were never released here, but I never got imported. So I'd like to say that the people who I bought it from imported that. So I'll show you through some of them right now. So kicking things off with them, I'd really like to thank a friend of mine once again for gifting this to me, and that is Tales of the Abyss. This is a UK copy. It was never released in Australia, or at least as an Australian print. So the UK print was the PAL print that we got here, or at least it was circulated through here through either imports. I'm not too sure about that. You know, and then they usually make their way into stores secondhand and stuff like that. So that was cool. Game that I'm really looking forward to playing, and that is Xenogears on the PS1. I wanted this game since I was a child. I remember just wanting to play it so badly and just never being able to find it. Fortunately, I found someone selling it on eBay here through bidding, and again, you know, when games on the PS1 and PS2 that are NTSC region go on eBay through actual auction, they generally are very cheap because hardly anyone bids on them. You know, I'm one of not many people who have a modded PS2. So I got it for only $20 Australian, which is much cheaper than actually getting a copy from America, including the postage and stuff. So I really can't wait to play this game. Another one that I recently picked up, and that is Final Fantasy Chronicles. So this is Final Fantasy 4 and Chrono Trigger. I recently picked it up at a local cash converters. Somehow they managed to get their hands on this. I haggled them down to $20 Australian. One, because I said it was an NTSC game, you know, so I got a bit off. And then two, there's just one crack going down here, which you can't really feel, but it's there. And I was able to get another extra $5 off. This is cool because now I own a console version of Chrono Trigger. I heard the loading times aren't the best on this, unless you put like the PS2 like disc speed read and stuff to fast and stuff like that. You can do that in the, I think, the system BIOS or the menu before you you put the disc in and stuff. But really cool to actually have a console version of Chrono Trigger. Next, this is another game that I got. I'm not sure if I got this imported. I got this from someone here who had imported it, but I have a feeling I did get this one imported. And that is the Final Fantasy X-2 International and Last Mission. So this is, I guess you could say the follow-up to the original Final Fantasy X-2 with some extras and stuff in that, plus the last mission. Again, this has since been put onto the Final Fantasy X X-2 HD remaster, all in English now. So if I do play this game again, because I 100%ed the original X-2, I might play this version on the remaster on PS4. Actually, not might, I will. And moving on, another game that I only just recently picked up, and this is actually the only sealed game I own, and that is Drakengard 3. So this is an odd one in that it was released here in Australia and UK and stuff, but only digitally, not physically. And I like to have physical copies of my games, and I found a local online retailer that was selling this at about half price or so, $30 including postage, so I had to pick it up. And I actually, it's the only game that is sealed for me, and that is because I will actually buy it digitally and play it digitally, because there's quite a lot of DLC for this game, especially prologue chapters and stuff. So if I were to play it with the disc, I wouldn't be able to download or use those DLC unless I were to play this with I were to create like an American, North American PlayStation Network account and stuff like that. So I thought, well, there's really no point in me unsealing it because I won't be playing it. So might as well keep it like that. But still really good to finally have a physical copy of it. Next one, Star Ocean: The Last Hope International. This is a bit different in that this game did get released here in Australia, and this is actually an Australian version, except I got it with the North American cover art and stuff. So I got it from a local EB Games maybe someone traded in a North American edition. They also had a pre-owned copy of an Australian edition, but I have a feeling that whoever bought the Australian version, they accidentally put the North American game disc and manual in that one. So when I got it, I actually got the Australian disc and manual in it. But I'm actually happy to have it like this because the North American cover art is actually I feel it's much better than the Australian one and is more representative of it being a Star Ocean series, especially with the anime sort of cover and stuff like that. If you Google up like the European box art of this, you'll definitely know what I mean. And lastly, moving on to something I think is very special in my collection and a game that looks incredible. And it's part of Operation Rainfall, and that is Pandora's Tower. I got the limited edition of Pandora's Tower, which was never released here in Australia. This limited edition was released in North America, I believe, and Europe, UK, Europe. So this is the European copy. I'm not sure if there's any difference between this copy and the North American copy. And this was just the only Operation Rainfall game to have this. The Last Story got a collector's or limited collector's edition in North America, as well as a slightly different limited collector's edition in the UK. And I know Xenoblade Chronicles also in the UK got like a limited edition, except that really just came with a red Pro Controller for the Wii. I'm not sure about North America, but it's so awesome to have this because we just never got access to it. And I really want to thank a good friend of mine again for finding this for me at his work and then putting it aside for me so I could come in and purchase this because someone just happened to trade it in. So again, you know, whoever got their hands on this originally, it eventually, you know, made its way over here from overseas, and you know, definitely something I'll cherish. So yeah, there's sort of, you know, some games I've got imported either directly or indirectly. Several different reasons why. So yeah, let me know, you know, do you or have you ever imported any video games? Some of the reasons why, you know, was it a game that was never released in your country, full stop, or maybe it was never released physically in your country, but it was released digitally, so you wanted to get a physical copy. You know, do you even now actually import games just because they may be cheaper? Like I was saying, you know, sometimes it's actually cheaper to get UK copies of games here in Australia than the actual Australian copy. I'm very picky in the sense that I like to make sure I have the Australian prints. So I think, you know, for me that I avoid that, but like I was saying, when there are games that are just not available in Australia that I want to play, then I definitely import them. And there are still several games that I really want to get that just weren't released here. So talk about the PS1, Parasite Eve, the first one, never got released here in Australia, so I'm still always looking out for that game. Other games, let me think, on the original consoles. I'm just trying to think. Not too many coming to mind, but when I think of things like the PS4, I know Exist Archive was never released physically here, that was released digitally. Mega Man Legacy Collection never got a physical release here on the PS4, so I'd love to get that. And there are several other games that aren't coming to mind, but hopefully over time I do find these games either here in Australia, or I'm able to find them being sold cheap from an international seller and pick them up. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sharing, subscribing, and until next video, stay spot on.